As far as this game, and I'll tell you now, I'm not going to be picking Arkansas every week.
Yeah.
I try to take the fan hat and set it aside and analyze this game as if it's Oklahoma versus Auburn this week or whatever, and how I would look at that game. And for this game, I think Marcel Reed is going to quarterback A&M, but I mean Wegman has been taking some snaps, and they keep saying it's a game time decision. I think that might be a little coach speak, trying to keep it hidden on who they're going to play. If I'm Arkansas, I'm going to get ready for Marcel Reed. I believe he's the more dangerous quarterback to us tomorrow than Wegman. Wegman has had good games before. Last year, I don't know, he got hurt after about 4 games, but he had a 300-yard passing game at Miami. He had another 300-yard passing game in his 4 starts. But he's not a mover. He's kind of a statue back there, pocket passer. Reed is a different animal. I remember last year when Texas A&M was playing Oklahoma State in the bowl game, and I had money bet on Oklahoma State, and it was announced the week of the game, and I'd already made the bet that Texas A&M's quarterbacks were out, and they were going to have to start Reed, who was a true freshman, has not played a game all year. And I was kind of laughing and dancing. I've won this bet. And he went out, and I did win the bet, but Oklahoma State won 31-23, and Reed passed for over 300 yards in that game. And I was just shocked at how well he looked as a true freshman, playing in his first game of the year in a bowl game. Obviously, he didn't win the job this year. Wegman got the job back, but in the 2 games that Reed has played since Wegman has been out with the shoulder injury, I mean, he's passed for over 170 yards in both games, and you think, well, that's not that much, but he's also ran for over 80 yards in each game, and that's the dimension I'm worried about for Arkansas tomorrow. We have not played a quarterback that can use his legs like this yet this year. UAPB was kind of playing like a 7-on-7, so that didn't kind of count. Bowman for Oklahoma State is a pure pocket passer. You go to the next game. Zeno can move a little bit for UAB, but he's still not a runner. He's a guy that completes high percentage passes. And last week, you don't have a runner there for Auburn. I mean, you had the freshman that was not going to. We said at the time I didn't think he was going to do anything, and I wasn't worried about him. But this could be a different animal, and that's the main thing I'm worried about. You look at the counting stats between the 2 teams. Aggies defense number 51 in the country versus Arkansas's offense, which is number 8 in the country in total offense. That's a little bit misleading, I believe, because of the nearly 700 yards we got against UAPB. If you look at Arkansas's offensive numbers each game, as far as total yards, it's went from 687 to 648 to 427. Last week, 334 on total offense, and that was with getting 5 turnovers. That's a little scary for me. While the Aggies have been kind of different, they played, Notre Dame right out of the gate, so they had a tough opponent with a good defense. They only gained 246 yards that game, but then since then, 528 against McNeese State, 488 the game after that against Florida with Reed at quarterback, 408 last week against Bowling Green with Reed at quarterback. I've got to caution Razorback fans, that Bowling Green, that they only beat them by 6, I don't think that's a poor win. That's a Bowling Green team that went to Happy Valley and led Penn State into the 3rd quarter and lost the game 34-27. So they've went to Penn State and lost by 7. They went to Texas A&M and lost by 6. That's a team that's going to win probably. They might not win the Mid-American Conference, but I'm going to be shocked if they're not in the championship game at least.
Yeah, and how much of a influence do you think that Petrino, knowing their defensive makeup, is going to have this weekend?
Where Petrino maybe might have an edge right now, knowing some of the personnel at Texas A&M. I do think their defensive line is one of the probably 10 best in the country. It's going to be the best we've played so far this year. They have given up some stuff in the run game. They're only number 62 in the country against the run. Notre Dame ran all over them late in that game to put it away. But they were able to do that because they were still in the game. I mean, they wore them down with the run game. Riley Leonard got some yards rushing that game. So we got to get more rushing yards from Taylor Green, but we can't have turnovers in this game. I mean, you look like in the history of the last 10 years of this game, there's been 7 times that Arkansas has lost by a touchdown or less. 3 of those games in overtime. It just something always happens. Growing up, it was just the opposite.
Yep.
I never thought we were going to lose to Texas A&M.
Right.
That we might lose to them 1 out of every 4 years. It seemed like. Growing up, I was always more scared of Houston than Texas A&M.
Right. You always got mad. You always got mad because you'd lose to Texas, but then Texas A&M was kind of your makeup game.
And
it
a lot
always
of times
fell at the end of the year.
Yeah, and a lot of times that Houston game followed up the Texas game, and you're hung over from that Texas loss. You lost by 4 points or whatever. You missed a field goal. They hit a play at the end or whatever, and you lament that loss all week. And here comes Houston in there with a pretty strong team usually, and then they could get you right back. So yeah, that's the way it was back here in the as far as this game, until I see different, and I hope I'm wrong when I make this pick. I've got Texas A&M 27, Arkansas 21. I feel like that's, we'll have the ball at the end with a chance to win, and just come up short.
Oh man,
that's what it's been the last decade, and I hope I'm wrong, but that's the way I see this game playing out tomorrow. I think it'll be close.
And I've seen a lot of predictions already on the post, Hardcore Hog post, and I have yet to see, except for Chris Franzetti, and he always picks the other team anyway. But I've yet to see anybody that has picked Texas A&M. So I think really you're legit the only one that's picked Texas A&M. And
another thing that scares me today is the way the spread moved. It started out as Texas A&M during the early part of the week. Texas A&M's favored by about 5 points, and then there was Arkansas money come in pretty much all week, drove the line all the way down to Texas A&M -3. Yesterday it went to about 3.5. This morning it was at 4, and then this afternoon it had to be a pouring in of Texas A&M money that moved it all the way up to 6 or 6.5, and that scares me a little bit. When as far as the Vegas stuff goes, the money they raised the limits later in the week. You can't bet if you want to bet big money. You got to wait till later in the week. Maybe they have $5,000 limits early part of the week, $10,000 midweek. At the end of the week, $25,000, $50,000 limits, however the sports book have it. So that's when the big money comes in at the end of the week, when they can bet more, and that moves the spread faster. So it tells me a lot of money came in on A&M today, and that's got me worried as well.
That's interesting. So you watch how much money moves. It's almost like the stock market, and where they start out by saying, okay, well, we're going to set the line at this and see what the market does to the line. And then once they've cinched it, then that's when they let the big money come in, and they feel like that they've got one.
There's stuff that goes on into it, manipulating the line, where there's groups out there. I am by no means a part of any of this, but I hear the talk.
Of course,
where groups come in.
This is for entertainment purposes only.
That's true. Where there's groups that come in, and let's say they really want to bet Texas A&M. They'll come in and bet their 10 to 15,000, whatever the number is, on Arkansas to drive the line down, and then come back in over the top and put 100,000 on A&M minus the 3. They didn't want to bet A&M at -5. Let's manipulate the line
early
to get it down, so we can come over the top with who we really want to bet at the number we want.
Dang.
So there's stuff that goes on like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you have to have the $1 million to move the line, and you have to be willing to lose that $1 million too. But
sure,
if you're gonna play in that kind of field, you've got a few. Unless you're,
I just like to try to look at the field. I'm not playing in that game.
Yeah,
but I kind of sometimes I let that lead me to. I have a thought on this team, and I was always going to pick Texas A&M this week. But with the line coming down, I was doubting myself. The line went all the way down to A&M -3. I was like, maybe we really can pull this off. I said that's a 3-point line. I mean, that's anybody can win that game, and anybody can still win if the line is 6 or whatever. That's just a 1-score game. Turnovers will probably dictate who wins the game. But yeah, there's stuff like that goes on.
Yeah. So in the college in college betting, you see a lot more spreads that are larger than 1 score, right? First of all, there's more games, and there's in the
right.
pros, you hope that they're all pros, and so most of those lines are 10 or less. And so
Right,
you kind
right.
of play it like that. But I never thought about that where, if the line goes to 3, then Arkansas looks really attractive. But do you still get that 3 points if you bet Arkansas on 3 points? Do you still get it at the end if the line is moved to 6?
No, you will get now. I'll tell you this. I bet Texas A&M when it got to 3, so that's locked in for me.
Okay.
Now, if I want to go back, I could go back in right now on the app, and I could bet and get Arkansas +6.
Yeah.
So I could, that way, if the game ends, A&M wins by 4 or 5, I would win both bets because I have A&M -3 and I got Arkansas +6.
Yeah. That's a
So
hedge.
there's stuff like that. Yeah, there's stuff like that. Here's a story. You want a story?
Yeah, of course.
Whenever the game from probably 2 years ago, I believe, where we tried the field goal at the end of the game and Cam kind of kicked it over the top of the goalpost and they said no good. We lost, I believe, 21-19. Early in that week, I had bet Texas A&M -1, and the line changed to Texas A&M -3, and I took Arkansas +3 because I got leery of the Texas A&M bet. As the week went on, I felt better about Arkansas for whatever reason. So we're lining up to kick that field goal, and I don't know if Susky might have been there. I was out with a bunch of guys at the bar, and we're sitting there, and I looked at a guy sitting next to me. I said, I'm not really sure 100% what I want to happen here. He said, why not? I said, well, if he misses, I win both these bets. But if he makes it, we win, and I break even. It's okay. I'm fixing to win no matter what happens here.
Right.
And he missed a kick, and everybody's hollering and cussing and carrying on. And I'm like, oh, sorry. I had 100 both ways. So I'm +200.